somewhere out there, there's a newly promoted E8 that's getting ready to take a Special Forces ODA and has no clue what he's doing. How do I know this? Well, mainly because 3 years ago, I was that newly promoted E8 that was getting ready to take a Special Forces team and had no idea what I was doing. So today, I'm hoping that in sharing these points with you, it will help somebody out there to not only take over a Special Forces ODA, but also make it into something that not only they can be proud of, but also the dudes could be very, very proud of. Being part of a awesome Special Forces team is not something that's easy to come by. There's a lot of okay teams in the regiment. There's a lot of good teams in the regiment, but there's very, very few great teams in the regiment to where guys are reluctant to leave and they want to spend their entire career within that team. Today, I'm going to share with you things that you can do to build a Special Forces culture within your team that's not only going to make it good, but that's going to make it great to where one day you can be proud of it and the dudes could be proud of it too, to the point where they're tattooing their team logo on their bodies and wearing the team shirt and team hats years and years later after they have been on that team. With all that said, if this is your first time watching me, guys, my name is Jay. I'm a retired Army Green Beret out of 3rd Special Forces Group. The intent behind this channel, guys, is to share my knowledge and wisdom with the next generation. So if you find this video helpful, hit the subscribe and hit the like button. The very first thing you can do as a Special Forces team sergeant, as a captain, as a CEO, or as anybody that's getting ready to put a team together, the very first thing you want to do is create a culture where feedback is welcome. Now, why is that important? When you are a leader, you got to keep in mind that you are one person. On a Special Forces team, there's 11 other guys that think differently than you do, and they've done things differently than you do. So bringing everyone together to solve a problem, instead of just one mind going, it's 11 other minds thinking and strategizing, trying to figure out the best way to solve that issue. I remember back when I was on the team, every time we got ready to plan a mission, we all would get together, all the different MOSs, all the different experience level, and we would troubleshoot a certain issue, whether it's a route to the objective, whether it's exfil, whether it's actions on, we would all have buy-in into the actual plan. We all solved that problem together. That made us not only good as a team, but it took us to the next level and it made us great. The second thing you want to do if you want to build a awesome Special Forces team with great culture is to allow your guys to play pranks on each other. Playing pranks on each other, not only does it, keep the mood light at all times, but it also brings the guys together. I remember this one instant, we had I want to say it was 3 new guys. And as one of the senior guys on the team, me and a couple of my buddies of mine, we came together and we came up with the idea to prank some of the newer guys. Now, if you guys are out there, I've seen the movie The Other Guys with Will Ferrell, then you'll appreciate this prank right here. So we brought the newer guys in to the team room and we had set it up to where we was going to have them do what's called an office spot. Now, our team room was just open bays. You had the actual team room and you had a wall full of lockers behind us where each guy had their little cubby for them to change and keep their personal belongings. So within the team room, we had this big table right in the middle where we would hold our meetings, so on and so forth, right? We were in older buildings, so the ceiling had like the little, it was like a tile-like material where you can poke holes in it, right? So what we did was we took a marker in each one of the seniors, we poked a couple of holes in the ceilings, and then we initialed them. Those holes were meant to signify bullet holes, because we were going to bring them in and we were going to tell them, hey, these holes that you see here, this is, an initiation that every one of these senior guys had to go through. We had to grab a pistol, we had to chamber around, and we had to shoot it in the team room. And those are the holes that you see. So that was the plan. So we brought in the newer guys, the juniors. There was 3 of them. We brought them in everyone is stoic, game face on, and we're briefing these guys. We're like, hey, look at the table right there. That's a 9mm. It's got a magazine in it. It's got a round in the chamber. Look at the ceiling. Those holes are bullet holes from everyone that's come before you. You as the new guy, if you want to earn your spot on this team, you need to grab that pistol when we tell you to, and you need to shoot around into the ceiling. That was the prank. That was the initiation that we had set for these guys. In reality, we had an empty magazine in the Glock, and then we had a paintball round in the actual gun. Now, when we briefed these guys and we looked at them, every single one of them, and we told them to execute, we just kind of sat back and watched what they were going to do. Because in reality, you discharge a weapon in a federal building, that's a felony. So we just wanted to see how those guys would react. But just that little act alone, that little prank alone was enough to not only bring us seniors together, but it also brought the newer guys into the fold, and it gave them a story that they could later on share with their loved ones, with their kids, and other team guys within the company. So that's an example of a prank, guys. So whenever you take over your team, if you're not already doing that, set that culture up to where guys are also having fun with each other. Moving on to number 3. You want to set up a team where competition is welcome. You want your guys to be the best. You want to make sure that they're competing with each other. I remember when I had my team, guys, every time we went out to do range week, we would keep tally of who the best shooter was. My Bravos were at the very top of that list, and everyone else was chasing them. Every time we went out, we conduct a drill, we conduct some CTEs afterwards, and we tally up the scores and see how everyone was doing. That's a form of competition. Moving on to number 4. Another thing that you need to do within your team room, within your company, within your environment to create that culture that is awesome and that keeps everyone wanting to stay wherever they're at, is to make sure that you inject humor into whatever it is that you're doing. You want guys to come to work smiling. You want guys to leave work smiling. You want them to have fun. You want them to be close-knit. You want them to be able to joke around with each other, because the job itself is very difficult and it can take a toll on you. So every chance you as a Special Forces guy get to laugh and joke with your buddies, I suggest you take it. Number 5, you want to make sure you hire the right individuals. Now, you as a Special Forces team sergeant, as a leader, as a CEO, whatever you are, whenever you put pen to paper and create your ideal team room, your ideal team dynamics, what you want it to look like, you then need to go out and hire the right individuals that's going to fit that mold. You want guys that have humor. You want guys that are going to go out and have a good time. You want competitive guys because you want them to fit into the mold that you're trying to create. If they don't, it's going to be awkward. It's going to disrupt your team dynamics, and you as a leader will eventually have to fire those guys. So as a team sergeant, whenever you get a new guy and you're sitting across the table from him, you're interviewing him, you're seeing if he's the right fit, make sure you do your due diligence, because if he's not, he's going to interrupt that team dynamic that you're trying to build. Number 6, you want to make sure you create a culture where initiations are welcome. If you look at anything that is part of a brotherhood or meant to establish a brotherhood, you have sports teams, you have frat houses, you have all these other entities that are built around brotherhood. There's always some sort of initiation to make the new guys earn their spot on the Special Forces team. Now, growing up in 3rd group, we had several different initiations. I won't talk about them because they're private to those specific ODAs. But as a Special Forces guy, as a team sergeant, if you don't have that in place, guys, you want to make sure you set something up to where whenever the guys cross that 6-month mark, it's a big deal. Whether they get their team swag or they got to go do something crazy, then it is what it is, guys. You want to make sure something exists to where those guys can take pride in it, could take joy in it whenever that probationary period comes to an end. Moving on to number 7. Number 7 is you want to make sure you hold team functions with your guys. I'm talking about out of work, on the weekend. Now, your team parties is something that all special operation guys do. That's when the entire team gets together. We invite families, loved ones, and we just have a good time. Throughout my tenure in Special Forces, we've had countless team parties. Some of them were crazy. Some of them were a lot more subtle with family members around. But as a team sergeant, you want to make sure you create that type of environment. It's your responsibility to host those team parties, not necessarily at your house, but you need to dictate, hey, we haven't had a team party in a while. Hey, next week, throw it on the calendar. It's happening. You need to make sure you're doing that type of stuff, guys, because not only do you want your team to be tight, you also want the families to also be close and know each other. Number 8, guys, you want to make sure you have incentives for when guys perform well above the standards that you establish. Now, when a guy goes to a school and he crushes it, gets honor grad or distinguished honor grad, you need to have some type of reward system. Because if all your guys are going to schools and they're crushing it and you're not doing anything for them, then there's nothing to set them apart, right? Let's say Junior Bravo goes to a school, crush it, gets distinguished honor grad. Senior Charlie goes to a school, bums it, and doesn't get anything. You don't do anything for either one of them. There's nothing to set them apart. There's nothing to let guys know that, hey, if you perform well outside the norm, I as a leader got your back, whether it's an award, whether they get an additional school, whatever system you want to come up with, but you want to make sure you incentivize guys' performance on your Special Forces ODA. Number 9, you want to make sure you establish and develop a culture around your Special Forces team where it's okay to call each other out. Now, by calling each other out, this is what I mean. Let's say we go to a range and everyone shows up on time and you as a team sergeant are not around and the Junior Bravo shows up late and he goes out to the range, he looks like a bag of dicks and he's just not performing. Even though I'm not here as a team sergeant, it shouldn't take me being there for someone else to call that dude out. Senior Charlie, Senior Delta, whoever should be digging in that dude's ass like, hey man, what's going on? Why are you showing up late? Why aren't you performing? What's going on? They should be able to police that dude up and make sure he gets his crap together by the time I get around. But if you as a team sergeant are not setting up that precedence, then it's not going to get done. If you as a CEO, you as a leader are not allowing that to happen when you're not around, guys aren't going to do it. And it's going to do your team, your company a disservice. Last but not least, guys, number 10, you want to make sure you establish high standards for your guys. Every time I got a new guy, I would sit him down and I would lay out what the team SOPs were, what the standards were, physical, fitness, range. I would lay everything out and I would let the guys know, as a new guy, I understand you have to build up to that standard. But once you achieve that standards, that is the standard. If you go below it, there's going to be consequences. But you as a leader, captain, team sergeant, warrant, you guys also have to meet those standards also. It can't be, hey, I'm the leader, you guys do what I say and don't worry about what's going on over here. You still got to maintain those standards. Those guys will respect you more if you do it and not like, guys. Those were just a few things that I could think of that will allow you as a new leader to build a team culture that is going to be remarkable and will always be memorable in your guys' mind. If you out there have been through this process and you have anything to share as far as things guys can do to build a memorable Special Forces team, please leave it in the comment section below, guys. I appreciate you guys watching and I'll see you guys in the next one.